I'm Anna B. Ledwin. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. It's not even on. It's not on.
Wow.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna B. Ledwin. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. In 4th grade, I got a C on a test. The test was in science and on the difference between independent and dependent variables. I remember sitting in my desk, staring at the large capital C circled in red marker. I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes and kept telling myself, "You are not going to cry. You are not going to cry. You are not going to cry." I started crying. I remember walking over to the paper towel dispenser next to the sink, still holding my test, and blowing my snot into a rough brown paper towel, while tears streamed down my face, my unsteady breath making loud, abrupt noises. In school, I've learned how to memorize, follow rubrics, and get A's. Since a young age, I've been convinced that getting bad grades meant that you were stupid, dumb, worthless. Getting under an A on anything was devastating and further made me believe I was not smart. This mindset has made me apprehensive of change because I feared failure and the feelings that came with failure. And this fear of failure made me hate challenge. Our first Leadership Chronicle prompt this semester was to write a letter to challenge. My first 2 paragraphs: "I'm sorry to say this, but I can't say I like you. You scare me a lot. I always feel unconfident and weak when you approach me. I try to avoid you for as long as possible, but you always catch up and smack me in the face. Being near you drains my already little self-esteem. When you're around, I always think negative thoughts, such as, 'I can't do it,' or stress myself out. My peers can't see when you're hovering over me, waiting to strike. I hide behind humor and laughter, the things I'm good at. I'm not good at handling you or you being around me. Challenge was my number one fear. Something I did not realize at the time, but I am now fully aware of." The first leadership class after this prompt was on fixed versus growth mindsets. People with a fixed mindset believe that intelligence is static. They avoid challenge and give up easily. However, people with a growth mindset believe that intelligence can be developed. They embrace challenge and persist when faced with adversity. When I received that C, I felt my self-worth plummet, and that was a fixed mindset. Fixed because I based my self-worth off of grades rather than who I am or how hard I tried. Every year at my elementary school, the school held an event in November called the Turkey Bowl, in which the 4th and 5th graders competed against each other in a flag football match. I was in 3rd grade, and I remember standing on the sidelines, not paying attention to what was happening on the grassy field ahead of me. I was focusing on how cold the skin on my sleeveless arms felt, how my breath was white and visible in the air, and the sweater that I was clasping in my small hand. I had made a label for myself by then, the girl who never got cold. And it was partially true. I'm not as easily chilled as others. My friends on the blacktop one day nicknamed me the radiator because usually without my jacket on, I could still warm myself and others. The way I reflected myself in my community was eventually the way I viewed myself. The turquoise fuzzy sweater I was holding had a twin magenta sibling hung up in the Harry Potter closet underneath the stairs at home, and I remember looking at the fabric in my hand while concocting a plan in my head. I went up to my freezing third grade teacher, Miss Hendler, and asked her, "Should I put my jacket on so I at least look cold?" She didn't even look at me when she nodded her head, her curly, dirty blonde bun bobbing with her as her arms wrapped around her thin gray cardigan. My identity as the girl who never got cold was saved. When I came to CSG and had to think for myself, I was challenged, especially late October starting off the marine science presentations. We had a 2-hour work period in which we were supposed to come up with questions we could answer for our project. Sitting at the yurt tables, I listened to all the groups go around and say how they had an idea of what they were going to do for their project. My group had no idea what we were researching. We didn't even have a topic to research on. After Coastal Adventure, I ate dinner, then laid in my bed the entire 3-hour prep time and read Paper Towns by John Green. The next day, I was alone with Kate, the leadership teacher, after a meeting, still feeling discouraged and drained. Earlier during the meeting, I told her with a pessimistic demeanor how I just wanted it to be Unit 3 and how I didn't want to do this project anymore. She gave me this heartfelt speech about facing challenge head-on, and I was having this internal battle, trying to have a growth mindset while having my failure feelings weigh me down. I was about to leave the room when Kate picked up an expo marker off the tray in front of the whiteboard and wrote, "If you are struggling, it means you are growing." I had an overall horrible first semester of 6th grade. I had no friends, no fun, and my eyes were glued to my computer games whenever I was home. After finally solidifying friendships with a group of 5 others around early January, my mom told me that we were moving to Seattle at the end of the school year. On Valentine's Day in 2011, I remember laying face down in my bed and weeping into my single pillow, a colorful checkered quilt draped over my body. My mom came into my room and didn't say anything as she came over and held my hand as I cried and whimpered why. Later on, I switched out of my sadness phase and quickly moved to my anger phase. I was strongly resistant to moving, despite the fact that I hated my middle school in Arlington, because the thought of uncertainty was worse than the present I lived in. Less than a month ago, we started a power dynamics history essay. The topic I tentatively picked a few days before was power dynamics in maps. Anne and I were sitting on the carpeted ground of the Freeport Community Library on her laptop, stuck on how I could further extend my research question. Suddenly, her eyes widened and brightened, and I could tell she had an idea. She opened up this map on her screen, and the artist side of me had so much respect for the map's detail and elaboration, but the student side of me had a moment of hesitation. Anne suggested for me to analyze this map of New France and make claims about it using my creativity and observation. We both knew that creativity and open-ended assignments were a place I could use improvement in. Previous schooling had taught me how to think in equations, the most used equation being doing A plus following B plus completing C equals success. I knew that taking on an assignment like this would not work with that equation. In that moment, I had a choice. I had the choice to back down and come up with a different topic, or to believe in myself and take the challenge head on. Either would have been okay with Anne. However, only one would be okay with me. With masking tape, I taped together 4 pieces of my sketchbook paper and started mapping my observations. So, something that I think is funny before coming to CSG was that my mom said, "I think you're going to change a lot going to this program. And I looked at her and I said, really? I don't think I'm going to change at all. and I really have changed, and changing my mindset has made me really learned how to embrace challenge. And another funny thing is that I had a solid 6 pages written of my personal manifesto, and I followed the rubric and answered every question, because I'm the kind of person that needs structure in their lives. And after getting feedback, my teachers told me that I needed to be more, or not needed, but they suggested for me to be more specific. And this was really hard for me because I was very proud of the idea that I came up with originally with this project, but I also knew that there was room to challenge myself and become a stronger person. And so what I did was I took those 6 pages and threw them out the window and started this over completely 3 days before presenting it. And I'm going to repeat, I need structure in my life. Before I started this over, I was talking to one of the teachers, I don't remember which one, and I said, oh, I need to find my rubric. And they were like, Anna, don't even look at the rubric. And that was really hard for me. And even just writing in this abstract form of memories that don't really link together, but do, it was so hard. And talking right now without having a planned out script, so difficult. And even if everything that I just said to you in my 10-minute presentation made absolutely no sense, that's okay, because I took on challenge and I faced it, and I'm proud of what I did.